Right now, as you are listening to this, the muscles in your jaw are capable of generating enough raw mechanical force to uh, cleanly crack open a walnut.
Which is pretty incredible, right?
It is. But, I mean, if you actually tried to do that right now, your brain would immediately fire off these massive pain signals to stop you.
Yeah, it would stop you right before you shattered your own teeth.
Exactly. And that is your conscious safety switch working exactly as intended. But I want you to do a really quick, honest self-assessment for a second. Think about your life over, say, the last few weeks.
The busy season, right?
Yeah, exactly. Have you been feeling the pressure at work? Are you juggling a million different things at home, just sort of letting the stress quietly accumulate in the background?
It sneaks up on you.
It really does. And the physical reality of that stress is likely manifesting before you even get out of bed. Think about the exact moment your alarm goes off. Before you even move, what is your body telling you?
Because the sources for today's deep dive actually highlight a very specific triad of morning symptoms.
Right, like waking up with a dull, generalized aching pain across multiple teeth.
Ah.
Or a jaw that literally feels like it's locked up. Or just physically exhausted.
Or those unexplained morning headaches that kind of wrap around your temples.
Yeah. And the thing is, those symptoms are so often just written off as, sleeping in a bad position.
Or just the normal fatigue of a busy life, like, oh, I'm just tired.
Exactly. But clinically, okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly how the stress from your daily life might literally be wearing away your smile while you sleep.
It is a massive issue because clinically what we're looking at is a highly destructive biomechanical process, one that happens entirely while the conscious brain is switched off.
Meaning that safety switch we rely on when we are awake is, well, it's somehow being completely bypassed in the middle of the night.
Precisely. And the clinical target we are exploring here is called sleep bruxism.
Which is just a medical term for intense teeth grinding and clenching, right?
Right. And it is frequently referred to as the silent thief of dental health.
The silent thief. I like that.
Yeah, because it operates completely under the radar. I mean, people often assume that when they fall asleep, their entire body just powers down into this state of deep restorative rest.
Like a laptop going to sleep mode.
Exactly. But the physiology of stress tells a much different story. Because throughout the day, when you are under pressure, your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, it remains slightly elevated.
So you're just constantly buzzing a little bit.
Right. Cortisol levels rise, and the body naturally holds onto muscle tension as a defensive posture.
Which, I mean, makes evolutionary sense.
Yeah.
If you are stressed, your body thinks there is a literal physical threat, so it keeps the muscles primed to run or fight.
Absolutely.
But you would think that eventually, once you finally hit the pillow and lose consciousness, all that tension would just have to dissipate.
You might think so, yeah. But the central nervous system doesn't just reboot simply because your eyes are closed.
Wait, so where does all that tension go?
Well, that accumulated daytime tension actually has to find a physical outlet. And the human jaw is controlled by the masseter muscles, which are incredibly dense, powerful muscles.
The one's right at the corner of your jaw, right?
Exactly. And they are wired directly into the brainstem via the trigeminal nerve,
Okay, so it's a direct line to the brain.
the direct neurological highway. And because of that, the jaw basically becomes the primary physical exhaust valve for subconscious stress.
Wow.
Yeah. So during certain stages of sleep, particularly as you transition between light sleep and REM sleep, the brain starts sending these chaotic signals down that nerve pathway.
So the stress essentially migrates. Like you go to sleep to escape the daily grind, but your nervous system physically routes that lingering anxiety straight into your jaw muscles.
That is a perfect way to put it, and this triggers an astonishing level of force.
How much force are we talking about here?
Well, the masseter muscles begin contracting rhythmically, grinding the top and bottom teeth together with hundreds of pounds of pressure.
Hundreds of pounds.
Literally hundreds. And this can go on for hours, entirely directed by the subconscious mind.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back on the mechanics of this. Because if I'm generating hundreds of pounds of pressure, wouldn't the sheer agony of that wake me up immediately?
You would think so.
I mean, if someone put hundreds of pounds of pressure on my hand while I was sleeping, I would shoot out of bed screaming. How is the brain sleeping through its own biological earthquake?
It all comes down to how sleep architecture temporarily alters our sensory perception.
Okay, what does that mean?
So during sleep bruxism events, the brain experiences what we call microarousals.
Microarousal.
Right. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing changes, and your jaw clenches with immense force. But Here's the crazy part. The brain actively suppresses the conscious perception of pain to protect the sleep state.
It turns off the alarm system so it doesn't wake itself up.
Exactly. The safety switch that stops you from cracking a walnut while you're awake is chemically disabled.
That is wild.
You are generating all that destructive force, but your brain flat out refuses to wake you up to stop it.
Which totally explains the confusion we see in the clinical data from the sources.
Oh, the anecdote about the patients.
Yeah. The source material shares this really fascinating anecdote about patients coming into the dental clinic. And they sit down on the chair, just thoroughly bewildered.
Right.
And they point to an entire side of their face. Like, they don't point to a single tooth. They just look at the dentist and say, all of these teeth hurt.
Which is so confusing for a patient because when we think of dental pain, we are heavily conditioned to look for a localized issue, like a cavity or an infection.
Exactly. One specific bad spot.
But the pain from sleep bruxism isn't localized at all because the trauma itself isn't localized.
Right. Let's use an analogy here to clarify why that pain feels so widespread.
Go for it.
If you get a standard cavity, it is basically like driving down a smooth road and hitting a single deep pothole.
Okay.
It is an isolated sharp shock right in one specific spot. You know exactly which tire hit the hole. But sleep bruxism is not a pothole. It is an earthquake shifting the entire fault line of your mouth.
That structural comparison is spot on, and the fault line in this scenario actually includes your periodontal ligaments.
Ligaments. In your teeth.
Yeah, every single tooth is suspended in your jawbone by a microscopic hammock of these ligaments.
I didn't even know teeth had ligaments.
They do, and they are very sensitive. So when you subject your teeth to hundreds of pounds of grinding force for hours on end, those ligaments become severely inflamed.
Ouch.
And furthermore, the masseter muscles themselves get flooded with lactic acid from the extreme exertion.
Like after a really intense workout at the gym.
Exactly. So when a patient points to the side of their face, they are actually feeling the combined inflammation of dozens of sprained ligaments and profound muscle fatigue. They've basically run a marathon with their face.
So the morning ache is essentially extreme muscle soreness and ligament sprain. Well, that definitely grounds the symptoms in physical reality. But as uncomfortable as that muscle fatigue is, the sources make it very clear that the pain is just the introductory phase.
Well, absolutely. The pain is just the warning.
Because we have to look at the permanent structural destruction happening to the teeth themselves as a result of all this extreme friction.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the biomechanical reality of human enamel.
Let's talk about enamel.
So enamel is the hardest substance in the entire human body. It contains an incredibly high percentage of minerals. It is literally engineered to withstand a lifetime of normal chewing and biting.
Right. But it is not invincible against sustained, sheer mechanical force.
No, it's not.
Because a lot of people think of enamel as like a suit of medieval armor.
Yeah.
Just this solid block of unbreakable metal shielding the tooth.
Right, which is a misconception.
Yeah. Based on the sheer force we're talking about, it seems a lot more like the tempered glass on a smartphone screen.
Oh, that is a great way to think about it.
Right. Because you can tap on that phone glass all day. You can toss your phone in your pocket with your keys, and it perfectly resists normal daily wear and tear.
Sure.
But if you take that phone and you put it in a mechanical vice grip and slowly turn the crank with hundreds of pounds of pressure,
that glass is going to shatter.
Exactly. It's going to completely shatter.
And that tempered glass analogy perfectly captures the vulnerability of our teeth. Night after night of intense grinding places the enamel in that exact vice grip.
Just squeezing and grinding.
Yeah, the teeth are essentially being sanded down. And here's the scary part. Because enamel does not contain living cells, it cannot regenerate.
It doesn't grow back.
Never.
Yeah.
Once it is worn away, it is gone forever. And the physical transformation is often drastic. Over time, the teeth become noticeably shorter and much flatter on the biting surfaces.
And losing that tempered glass exposes the inner layers of the phone. Or, in this case, the inner layers of the tooth.
Right, the dentin gets exposed.
Which is exactly why the sources note that extreme temperature sensitivity is a major red flag for bruxism.
Oh, huge red flag.
Because suddenly, taking a sip of hot coffee or like eating a bowl of ice cream just sends this massive jolt of pain through the mouth.
Yeah, because there is literally no insulation left protecting the nerve of the tooth.
Wow.
Now, the temperature sensitivity is definitely a severe quality of life issue,
Mm,
but the hidden danger lies in what the vice grip is doing to the overall structural integrity of the tooth.
meaning the cracks.
Exactly. The immense repetitive pressure causes these microscopic cracks to propagate deep through the tooth structure, and you won't necessarily see these micro cracks just looking in the bathroom mirror.
So what does this all mean?
Well, it means you have a ticking time bomb in your mouth.
Right, because if we look at the timeline of destruction, that widespread morning jaw ache, the muscle fatigue that is basically the seismic tremor warning you that the tectonic plates are under too much pressure. It is the body's check engine light signaling that the system is overloaded.
Hmm.
But the formation of those micro cracks, that is the structural foundation of the building actively failing.
Precisely. And if you ignore the tremors, you eventually get a sudden catastrophic collapse.
Like waking up one day and a tooth just breaks.
Yeah. A micro crack turns into a chewed tooth while you were just, eating a normal meal. You bite down on a piece of bread and crack.
That is terrifying.
But human nature often leads us to ignore the early warning tremors, right? We try to push through the tight jaw and pop some aspirin for the headaches.
Because life is busy.
Exactly. But by the time a tooth actually fractures in half, the treatment required is vastly more invasive and vastly more expensive. The real challenge is intervening before the structure fails.
And this requires a very specific kind of intervention. Because as we've established, the brain absolutely refuses to wake you up.
Right, you sleep right through it.
And you can't logically negotiate with your subconscious mind while you are deep in REM sleep to just, stop stressing.
Hey, brain, calm down. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Right. So since you can't turn off the neurological signal, you have to introduce a physical barrier to protect the structural integrity of the teeth.
Yes, and this is where things get tricky, because this often leads people to make a well-intentioned but highly flawed choice.
The DIY route.
Exactly. When someone realizes they are grinding their teeth, their immediate instinct is to look for a quick, accessible fix. So they head to the oral care aisle at the local pharmacy, and they purchase a boil and bite mouthguard.
Oh, yeah. Those do-it-yourself plastic trays that you drop into boiling water, pull out with tongs, and then just bite into at home to mold them to your teeth.
That's the one.
I mean, they are really inexpensive, and you can get them instantly, which makes them incredibly appealing.
Sure, they are appealing purely from a convenience standpoint. However, the materials used for these over-the-counter guards are notoriously bulky.
They are huge.
They are, and they often disrupt normal sleep architecture because they are just so uncomfortable to wear. But honestly, the discomfort is actually secondary to a much more counterintuitive danger.
Wait, there's a bigger danger than just bad sleep?
Oh, yeah. These pharmacy guards can actually, chemically and physically, encourage an increase in the frequency and intensity of chewing and clenching.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. You're saying the device explicitly sold to stop you from grinding your teeth actually stimulates you to grind them more.
Yes.
How does putting plastic in your mouth trigger increased muscle activity?
It is an issue of proprioception.
Proprioception.
Yeah, it's basically how your nervous system interprets physical sensation and spatial awareness.
Hmm.
The boil and bite guards are fundamentally made of a softer, squishier material.
Right.
So when you place this thick, compressible layer of plastic between your upper and lower teeth, your brain registers that specific texture.
Oh, I see where this is going. It's the exact same mechanism as giving a dog a rubber chew toy. Thanks. Because if you give a dog a solid block of hard steel, they will sniff it, realize there's absolutely no give to it, and just leave it alone.
Right, there's no satisfaction there.
But if you hand them a thick, squishy, compressible rubber toy, their immediate biological instinct is to chomp down on it repeatedly.
Yes. And by putting a bulky, soft plastic tray into your mouth right before bed, you are essentially introducing a chew toy to your own masseter muscles.
Wow.
You are providing proprioceptive feedback that tells the sleeping brain, hey, here's something soft to chew on, which triggers the exact subconscious reflex we are actively trying to shut down.
That is counterproductive on an unbelievable scale.
It really is. The nervous system receives that squishy feedback and engages the muscles even harder.
So you were working out your jaw all night.
Exactly. Now, the squishy plastic might temporarily prevent the enamel from directly rubbing against enamel, sure, but your jaw muscles and those delicate periodontal ligaments we talked about, they are being pushed to their absolute limit.
They're fighting the rubber.
Right. They are working overtime against the resistance of the rubbery material, which virtually guarantees that your morning headaches and widespread jaw pain will escalate.
So the DIY approach fails entirely because it doesn't account for the actual neurology of the jaw.
Precisely.
So what constitutes a true shield against this kind of subconscious force?
A true shield requires a clinical solution, specifically a custom-fit night guard engineered by a dental professional.
So skipping the pharmacy aisle entirely.
Yes. The difference lies in the material science and the sheer precision. A professional clinic takes exact digital impressions of your unique dental anatomy.
Down to the millimeter.
Down to the micron, really. And they use these impressions to fabricate a guard that is exceptionally slim and unobtrusive, usually out of a highly durable, hard acrylic.
Ah, so it provides the steel block instead of the rubber chew toy.
Exactly. It is a hard, smooth surface that does not compress, so it simply doesn't trigger the brain's chewing reflex.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the hard acrylic allows the opposing teeth to just glide smoothly over the surface without catching or compressing. And the really brilliant part of this design is the concept of sacrificial material.
Sacrificial material.
Yeah, so if your nervous system is still firing off those stress signals, and you do continue to exert some pressure at night, you are simply wearing down the replaceable acrylic of the guard.
Oh, I get it. You are preserving your irreplaceable tooth enamel by destroying a piece of plastic instead.
Exactly. Furthermore, because a professional perfectly calibrates the fit, the guard correctly spaces the upper and lower jaws.
So it changes your jaw posture.
Yes, it decompresses the temporomandibular joint, the TMJ, and holds everything in a very neutral position. And that finally allows those hyperactive masseter muscles to disengage and relax.
Okay, so you are intentionally sacrificing a piece of engineered acrylic so you don't sacrifice the hardest biological substance in your body.
That is the whole strategy.
To really see how this methodology is applied, the source material actually focuses on a specific clinical model.
Right, the clinic in Australia.
Yes, all of these insights on nervous system-aware dentistry come from a practice called My Gentle Dentist at Brookside.
Analyzing their approach is great because it provides a really clear window into modern preventative patient care. They have structured their entire clinic around a core philosophy of comfortable, stress-free dentistry.
Which is super important.
It is. And this isn't just about good customer service or being polite. It is a clinical necessity for treating bruxism.
Right, because if a patient is already grinding their teeth into dust due to elevated stress and cortisol levels, walking into a highly clinical, anxiety-inducing, scary dental environment is just going to spike their fight-or-flight response even further.
Absolutely. It just becomes a vicious biological feedback loop.
But by prioritizing a gentle, compassionate environment, they're actually helping to modulate the patient's nervous system before they even sit in the chair.
Which makes the treatment vastly more effective.
So for anyone listening who is waking up with those seismic tremors, the aching jaw, the tight muscles, the unexplained morning headaches, you can explore this exact clinical approach further. You can actually visit mygentledentistbrookside.com.au to book a consultation and get evaluated for a custom acrylic shield.
And seeking evaluation at the tremor stage is really ideal.
I'll wait for the collapse.
Right. But clinical reality shows us that many people will inevitably ignore the warning signs until a structural failure actually occurs.
It happens.
It does. So if a listener has already woken up to find a piece of their tooth missing, or they're currently experiencing the sharp, localized pain of a deep fracture, the most critical step is avoiding panic.
A fractured tooth feels catastrophic in the moment, like it's really scary.
It is very scary, but modern dentistry has amazing protocols for structural collapse.
Okay.
My Gentle Dentist at Brookside actually has comprehensive emergency services designed for these exact scenarios. The clinical priority just shifts immediately to pain management and stabilizing the tooth structure.
So there's a backup plan.
Always. Patients in that situation can go directly to the Emergency Dentist tab on their website to access immediate trauma-informed care.
Good to know. But I do want to push back on the preventative side of this for a moment, just on behalf of the listener who might be weighing your options right now.
Sure.
Because getting professional impressions made, waiting for a lab to fabricate a custom acrylic guard, and honestly, just the financial cost associated with professional dental care is a real commitment.
It definitely is an investment.
Right. I can easily hear someone out there thinking, maybe I should just gamble $20 on a squishy pharmacy guard first, just to see if it helps, before I fully commit time and resources to the professional route.
I hear that a lot. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, You have to weigh the upfront cost of prevention against the massive back-end cost of biological reconstruction.
Meaning fixing broken teeth is way more expensive.
Exponentially more. You are protecting your ability to chew food without sharp pain. You're protecting the structural integrity of your facial muscles and, honestly, your long-term neurological comfort.
There's a lot on the line.
It is. An over-the-counter guard is a gamble that fundamentally misunderstands the proprioceptive reflexes of the jaw, which, as we discussed, often exacerbates the muscle tension.
The chew toy effect.
Exactly. A custom-fit guard is a one-time investment in a structural shield. When you compare the cost of an acrylic guard to the astronomical expense and the invasive nature of crowns, root canals, or dental implants that are required to fix shattered teeth, consulting a professional is truly the only logical path for preserving your health.
It is the absolute definition of preventative maintenance. You are putting the tempered glass protector on the phone before you drop it.
Perfect analogy.
I want to ask you, the listener, to do a little physical reset with us right now to close out this deep dive.
I love this.
Wherever you are sitting or standing right now, just take a slow, deep breath in.
And let it out.
Consciously drop your shoulders down away from your ears and intentionally unclench your jaw. Let there be a millimeter of empty space between your top and bottom teeth. Take care of yourself today and pay attention to where your body is storing the weight of your day.
This raises an important question, though, something truly profound to consider as you go to sleep tonight.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we've just spent all this time exploring the mechanics of how the human body can generate hundreds of pounds of destructive force while we are dead asleep, actively bypassing our conscious safety switches and leaving us entirely unaware of the trauma until we wake up.
Right, which is wild.
It is. So it leaves you to wonder if our unconscious minds can orchestrate that level of intense, localized physical power without ever breaking our sleep cycle. What other incredible or potentially destructive physical feats is the sleeping human body capable of performing entirely under the radar?
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant thought to leave on. The sleeping body is a far more active, powerful machine than we ever really give it credit for. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Keep that jaw relaxed, pay attention to the tremors, and we will catch you next time.